Today's recipe is for a family favourite, the onion bhaji. And my inspiration is from a recipe within Madhur Jaffrey's Curry Easy book, but this is my adaptation of it. And what you need obviously is the chickpea flour, you need onions, there's a mix of yellow and red onions, salt, spices, Kashmiri chili, cumin, cayenne pepper, some black pepper, this one with some garlic in it, and some baking powder. So I'll talk you through how to make onion bhajis. First thing to do is to take the chickpea flour, and you need 100 grams of the flour, and you need to sieve it. I've got a flour sieve here, you can just use a normal sieve, and you sieve it into a bowl. To the sieved chickpea flour I'm going to add 1 teaspoonful of salt, 1 teaspoonful of black pepper and half a teaspoonful of baking powder. And with this mixture we're going to add about 100 ml of water, maybe a little bit more, to make a batter. So just add that in, stir it in until it's nice and smooth batter. I've given that a good stir, and got out all the flour dissolved and the lumps sorted out, and it's, as you can see, kind of batter, almost pancake batter consistency. And to this we're now going to add the spices. So for the spices, 1 teaspoon of Kashmiri chili, 1 teaspoon of cumin, 1 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. We're going to add that and mix it into the batter. Spices added. I'm just going to mix this up so the spices are well mixed into the batter, and that's your batter ready for the onions to be added. So now we're going to chop the onions. So what I do is I slice them. I'll show you the results of that, and add them into the batter mix. So for the large onions I've peeled and I've halved, and now I'm going to halve them that way and then slice them. So I'll do that with the 3 large onions. So you can see I'm slicing them halfway that way, and then slicing them so that you get fairly large chunks. Don't worry about it being too fine or too thick, doesn't really matter. A good mixture of different sizes of onions is good. I've mixed in the onions into the batter, and that looks like a good onion to batter ratio. Not too sloppy, not too dry. So I don't need the other 2 onions at this moment in time. So now we're going to get the oil going. For frying I'm going to use rapeseed oil, canola oil. You can also use peanut oil. Just need to be careful with the oil you use, because something like sunflower oil or olive oil won't get hot enough to cook the bhajis correctly. So you need to focus on a vegetable oil, rapeseed oil, peanut oil, and that will work well. To cook the onion bhajis I'm going to use a deep fat fryer. Set to 190 degrees. This has the advantage you've got the oil reservoir, so put the oil in there. You've got a basket that you can use to lower and raise and drain the bhajis once they're cooked. If you don't have a fryer, you can use a pan on a stove. So you put the oil in the pan, put it onto high heat, let the oil heat up. You'll need a slotted spoon to remove the bhajis once they're cooked, but that works just as well. I've added oil to the fryer up to between the minimum and the maximum lines, so about 800 ml of oil. It's set to 190 degrees, and we're just going to let that warm up. It all needs to be hot before you start cooking, so here the light's gone out, which shows it's hot. The other way to test is just to get a little teaspoon of water, and don't pour it all in, a couple of drops. It should. There we go. Tells you that tells you the oil is nice and hot. So I'll give the onion mixture a nice stir, get a spoon, and then just ladle some of the mixture onto the spoon. And we're going to lower this gently. Basket's in the fryer. I'm just going to lower that gently into the oil. And I do about 3 at a time, given the size of the basket. Also the size of the pan, it probably could take 2 or 3 at a time. And again, as much or as little as you like, depends on the size of the bhaji. Going to add that in, and again a 3rd one. Add them carefully into the oil, watch for spitting. There we go, and you can see it's now cooking away. So I'm going to give that about 2 minutes cooking away, and then I'll turn them over. So just use a fork to turn them over. So they've been in there about a minute. You can see they're still cooking away as the water evaporates off. Just a health and safety tip, this is hot oil at 190 degrees. Especially when you first add it, you'll get a bit of spitting, so it's worth having a longish spoon. And if you do get a couple of spots on your hand, just run it under the cold water tap as quickly as possible for a minute or so, and you shouldn't have any problem. I'm going to give that another 30 seconds, and then I'm going to use a fork and just to turn them over so they get cooked on both sides. So I've just used a fork to turn them over. They were slightly stuck to the bottom of the basket, that doesn't matter. They came away easily because that shows that they're nicely cooked, the batter's still not too soft. Again, I'm just going to give those another 30 seconds or so, and they should be done. Well, they've been cooking for 2-3 minutes max. I'm going to lift them out, give the basket a shake, try and shake off as much of the oil as possible, and then I'm going to tip them onto kitchen paper, again to just absorb some of that excess oil, and put the basket back in and just let the oil, leave it for another 30 seconds or so and let the oil reheat. So there, I've done 3 batches, there's still some left, but as you can see there's a little bit of batter, that's some of the water coming out of the oil, loosening it up. So I've chopped up those 2 red onions and I'm going to add those to the batter. Red onions have been added, I've stirred it, that's absorbed a bit more of the batter, so we're now ready to make some more bhajis. So just the same again, add it to the oil, cook it for 2 to 3 minutes, turn over around about halfway, and you get bhajis of, not brownish but not overcooked. Batter's gone, all done. That's made about 15 bhajis, so that's 100 grams of chickpea flour, 3 large onions, 2 small red onions, and you've got 15 very delicious onion bhajis. Enjoy. One last safety tip, let the oil cool obviously. I haven't used that much. What I would do is pour it out of here, so through a filter to take out the bits into a jug once it's cool, and then put it back in the bottle, and it could be reused. If you are going to dispose of it, then obviously dispose of it safely. Last tip, I've taken the oil from the fryer and I've filtered it to get out the kind of residue, and that oil can go back into the bottle to be reused, probably for the fryer again, maybe one more time before it needs to get disposed of.